with us now, co-chair of the House Problem Solvers Caucus, Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah.
I will ask you here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry I couldn't talk to you yesterday, but so great to be able to talk to you today. A lot of people like myself are asking, if you have a Problem Solvers Caucus, wouldn't that be a great time for the problem solvers to figure out how to stop the House of Representatives from vacating the chair for the first time in American history? What do you say?
Well, listen, I think if you looked at this challenge, we had Speaker McCarthy, and we were eager to find a way forward. I'm sure you saw what the Speaker said, that he ultimately, quote, didn't want to sell his soul to Democrats and that he wouldn't ask for any deal from anything from Democrats. So, it's hard to do a deal with someone who doesn't want to engage, but we certainly tried. And that's, of course, the Speaker's right and his decision to make. But certainly, if you look at the work we did in the last months, it's all about bipartisan governing, and whether it was the debt ceiling deal, which we worked on together, or, of course, avoiding the government shutdown this weekend, that's where bipartisanship, I think, showed exactly the power of it.
Yeah,
and
you guys did that, but this is like a big thing. History books will talk about this, a House in such dysfunction that
Joe,
without a speaker for the first time in American history. And again, you guys didn't have to support Kevin McCarthy. And by the way, I mean, you could have voted present. It just seems to me that you were told by Hakeem Jeffries that all Democrats had to fall in line, and instead of being a problem solver, you just fell in line with the rest of the Democratic Party. Is that an unfair assessment?
That is totally, I think, not a fair picture at all. What happened? One, as I just said, we tried to figure out a way forward where we can encourage more bipartisanship on the floor, allow more of Democratic priorities to get to the floor. And of course, I think we would have found a way forward with the Speaker. He wasn't interested in that, so it's very hard to do that under those circumstances. And again, that was his decision. But secondly, you know this, Joe, because you were there. Picking the Speaker is a family decision based in the respective caucuses. In this case, of course, the Republicans are in the majority. That's their family dinner. I'm not invited to that. They make their decision. When you were in Congress, I don't think you were voting for Dick Gephardt. And I'm sure when I asked my Republican colleagues, hey, would you vote for Nancy Pelosi in exchange for literally nothing to help
right,
you?
But you're a problem solver. You're now talking like you're a problem solver. You're in a problem solvers caucus. You're now talking though. You're now talking like a partisan when you're saying it's a family business. I'm sure that there were several times I crossed the aisle several times, and I enraged.
And you stood up and didn't vote for Newt Gingrich. I mean, let's be clear about this. The decision of Speaker, as you know, as we're seeing right now, is a decision made in a respective caucus. I'm not in that room. That's a respective caucus decision of the majority party. However, if you look at the record of actual bipartisanship when it comes to policy matters, we're always at the table. I'm working right now on two things. We're working with a group of us. One, to make sure we don't shut the government down in 38 days and make sure we protect our veterans and our families and our seniors, right, which I think is absolutely critical to avoid that shutdown. And also, I think we need to come together and change the rules of the House so that one person can vacate the chair. By the way, this is a fight I had several years ago with the Problem Solvers Caucus. We came together and changed the rules. And then, of course, Kevin McCarthy, I understand Matt Gaetz insisted upon this, change it back to a one vote to vacate the chair. I think we need to change that back, but that's going to take us coming together and, of course, ensuring that we as Democrats and find more ways to get parties to the table and work in a bipartisan manner. That's how Washington.
Again, it sounds like you're saying. It sounds like you're saying on problem solver, except on the biggest issue of all. And let me just say, if my choice was voting for Dick Gephardt, or empowering a radical on the left that is equivalent of the radicals on the right, I would have voted for Dick Gephardt, because I would say I'm not turning this House over to freaks. I'm not, because it's about being an institutionalist. I will say it's like John Roberts. John Roberts, I'm sure, didn't want to go along with the Affordable Care Act, but he was not going to overturn the Affordable Care Act because it would have undermined the institution of the Supreme Court of the United States. So I understand why. I understand. And by the way,
you were okay.
Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying. we knock Kevin McCarthy around all the time. I want to make sure people don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. But the question is, and I don't know what I would have done if I were in your position. I don't know. I probably would have voted the way you voted. But I'm still asking the question, what's more important, the institution or Kevin McCarthy's gross failings as a leader?
So I think, one, you have to put the blame here where it goes, which is the extreme 8 in his own party who refused to support him. I mean, we got to put that on the table, and leaving that out is a glaring thing. And secondly, I was very willing and worked to try to find a deal that we could work together where we can get more bipartisan priorities to the floor with the speaker. And as he said after the vote, and you can't leave this out, he said, quote, he didn't want to sell his soul to Democrats. So in his mind, working together for the institution was not worth the price of having to work with Democrats on more bipartisan governing, getting more bipartisan priorities to the floor wasn't worth it for him. Again, I don't begrudge him that. That's his decision. But to leave that out of this discussion is slightly ridiculous. He said he wouldn't ask for any deal or anything from Democrats. You can't work on something with somebody who doesn't want to work with you. And that's a very difficult thing. Right. And you know that, right? So it wasn't as if we didn't try. I tried for days. A group of us tried for weeks to try to find a deal. That was his decision. And again, I don't begrudge him that. And I also understand in the Problem Solvers Caucus, we have a phenomenal group of Democrats and Republicans, incredible people. We're going to keep working together. This is a high emotional time. We need now to focus on the most important thing, making sure our government doesn't shut down in 38 days and hurt our veterans and our families and our children and our seniors. That's the most important priority. And we also need to change the rules of the House. But that, again, is going to take both sides coming together, both sides giving a little to encourage more bipartisan governing. And that's how this place, as you know, works. That's how we did it this weekend to avoid a government shutdown. It's how we avoided the debt ceiling crisis and worked together on that. How we got infrastructure done, Veterans PACT Act done, CHIPS done, right? The electoral reform done that I worked on with Susan Collins. You did it by actually both sides giving a little. And you can't leave that out, Joe, of the question you're asking me, which is, should the other side give or not?
I'm not leaving that out. And I talk all the time about how there's been more bipartisan compromise over the past couple of years than there's been for most of this century. So I'm not leaving that out at all. I think what we keep talking past each other on is you keep talking about Kevin McCarthy not wanting to deal with the Democrats. Mm-hmm. And what I'm asking is, if he's acting like an idiot, do you focus on the idiot or do you focus on the institution? I would suggest that as you approach this, and again, I may have voted the way you voted if I were in your position. So
many different things to consider.
So many different things to consider. He's done so many offensive things. But the question is, do you focus on the idiot or do you focus on the institution? It doesn't really matter if Kevin McCarthy wants to deal with Democrats or not. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a great question, and I would say it's a great question. I think the institution is bigger than Kevin McCarthy or any individual speaker. And that would be my answer on that. It's bigger than that, and you need to find a partner you can work with. And now the key, I think, you can look back all you want. I'm looking forward. We got to change the rules of the House to make sure that one person can vacate the chair. It's what we actually had before. The Problem Solvers Caucus are the ones who actually changed that rule. It was changed back, bowing to the extremists in this Congress. That's the key. And also working together to avoid a government shutdown. That has to be our focus. Right. It's what I'm already talking to my colleagues about, and we're going to work together and get that done. That's our number one job right now.
Do you think some of the Republicans are going to quit?
No, I don't think so. I think, listen, people are upset. And I get that. You should have seen the conversation after January 6th. There were some very hot, emotional conversations, rightly so. Right? This is what happens. People, of course, feel strongly about it. But our job, we're not going to agree on everything in the Problem Solvers Caucus, but what we try to do is talk through it, work through it together, and then figure out how we can get a solution that most of us agree upon. And if a few folks leave and that's what they're choosing, then I totally respect them for that. But I'm very confident based on my conversations the last couple of days that we will get back in the room and work on the issues that are critical to the country.
All right, Josh. Thank you so much. And
thanks for coming on.
I appreciate and I respect what you do. Really grateful for you to come in on today. And again, for viewers that are watching, going, "Oh, Joe's there." No, I don't know what I would do. I don't have a voting card. I didn't go through this day in and day out like Josh did and like other members did. We're just asking the question. And Josh, I thank you so much for being with us. Yeah. And I hope you come back soon.
Anytime.
I guess
Thanks.
he did.